Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 25th episode here on Fan Fuel, the podcast where fans fuel talk about motorsports. I'm Alex Harrington, joined as always by Nathan Ball and Colton Cranmore. And tonight, guess what? There's a snake in our boots. Let's welcome Matt, or as you like to call him, RattlesnakeTex from Chairgating, another fellow podcast on here on Twitter and YouTube as well. All right, Rattlesnake, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
What's up? Thanks for having me.
So, we're having you on for our fan spotlight this week. I did want to, before we get started, say thank you a little bit because you and Colton have been talking quite some time. You guys have had a relationship prior to this, and you've helped us out a lot on steering us in the kind of the right direction on getting everything going. I did want to thank you before we get started. But yeah, so we'll start off this episode with the fan spotlight on Rattlesnake that we've been doing kind of as our cool new thing. And then we'll get into some of the crazy stuff that went on in the world of motorsports a little bit later in the show. And we'll get a fourth point of view other than us on it. So first off, RattlesnakeTex, who are you and how did you get the nickname?
I can't tell you that. I have to kill you if I told you how I got the nickname. I can tell you I got it in Talladega with a group of buddies, and that's as much as I can say about the nickname. Okay. Unfortunately, you would. Yeah, I'd have to kill you. Colton keeps bugging me about it, but I'm like, gladly, I'll tell Colton. Find it out. Yeah. I'd love to take him out. Yeah, so got it in Talladega. I can say that.
Okay, well, I guess you were in my neck of the woods for that, so I can respect it. All right, then. Well, other than that, I mean, I see you on Chairgate, and I see you on Twitter. I see you going to a lot of racetracks and stuff. But other than that, outside of racing, you know, what is your kind of hobbies and who are you outside of the Rattlesnake, I guess, persona?
Yeah, so not really a persona. Okay, I'm pretty much who you see.
That's great.
In terms of all the stupid shit I say. Can I cuss or am I not allowed to cuss on this?
Yeah, you say a lot of stupid.
You're fine.
I probably should have asked that. Yeah, I say a lot of stupid things. That's just me. That's my Texas education. I do all the normal redneck things that all racing fans do. Just whatever redneck thing you can think of, I probably do. Me and Colton both apparently have interest in rodeos, so that's cool. Hunting, fishing, but mostly probably just being lazy and watching Netflix and then pretending to do those active things when people ask what my hobbies are.
Yeah, I think I can attest to that. Yeah, I know Nathan and I are kind of more city slickers than anything.
Where are you at? You said it's your neck of the woods. Are you in Birmingham?
I'm basically in Georgia. I live right across the river from Columbus, Georgia, and Phoenix City, Alabama. I'm about 3 hours away from Talladega. It and Atlanta are kind of my home tracks. That's where I go to most of all. I don't really I don't do much of that stuff. I do have a degree in marine biology, so I've gone the fishing route. I've done plenty of that stuff before, but I don't know. I've never been hunting or anything like that. So I'm not your typical redneck. Man. I just love racing. And I'd say probably Nathan's on the same.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty big into fishing for most of the time, but maybe not anymore. I mean, as a kid growing up on the water, it's pretty much been deep sea fishing for probably as long as I can remember, up until the last few years.
Florida or
Clearwater Beach. We're like right on the Gulf.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, well, I guess I'm the only just degenerate redneck in the group. Colton, do you hunt and fish?
I fish quite a bit.
Okay, there you go. Well, you're in a good state. Yeah. I mean, my co-host is from Georgia, right outside Atlanta, and so he took me to my first Atlanta race this year. I'm glad I got to see it with the original surface before it was tore up. So a lot of fun there. I enjoyed Atlanta and the Georgia area. Had a good time.
Yeah. So I guess Dakota was a little too having too much fun, I guess, Saturday night. We were going to meet up Sunday before the race, but he didn't get up early enough for that. So
that sounds like Dakota. Yeah.
Yeah. So didn't actually get to meet with him. But yeah, the race up there this past weekend was really good. I didn't actually get to go in March, so I'm a little bit jealous of that. So I've been to every race since I can remember, other than that one, and of course the one last year with COVID. But you've been to a lot of racetracks. I know, a short list, a long list. It depends on who you ask. For me, I've been to 3. I think Colton and Nathan have been to similar amounts. Maybe not. You've only been to 1.
Yeah, I
I've
really
only
harp
been to
on him
one-
about this.
The one race ever.
Okay, so this whole time that we've been on here, I've been thinking that you've been to a couple races on that side of the country.
No,
You talk about
I have never even seen a checkered flag because the race that I went to.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
wow. Okay,
I have seen
Colton, you got to get out more, man.
NASCAR. Yep.
so
Bro, I
disappointed.
live so fucking far away. Like the closest track to me is like 13 hours.
Yeah. All you hear
Yeah,
from
you're
Colton
right.
is excuses. That's
Yeah. Well, pass it back to Rattlesnake. Since you are the most proficient in going to different racetracks, I did want to ask, what was fan engagement like at these various tracks? Obviously, lately with COVID, it's been a hit or miss depending on what's going on outside or pre-race concerts, stuff like that. But with your wider range of racetracks that you've been to, what are some of the best and worst fan engagement that you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, the best obviously is Talladega. Anybody that's been to
Right.
Talladega knows that. Anybody that's been to any race, I mean, once you go to Talladega, there's nothing else quite like it. Each race I've been to is quite a bit different. People hate Texas Motor Speedway, but the tailgating before the race is a lot of fun. Kansas gets overlooked, but it's a lot of fun as well. They have a casino there and hotels and shops. Kansas is actually a pretty sweet setup. Darlington might be my favorite race to go to. I love the atmosphere at Darlington. It's a small town in South Carolina, and just it's almost like going to a county fair race, but it's Cup Series. So that's honestly probably my favorite race to actually attend, that or Talladega. But yeah, it's just different at every race. I haven't been to a race really like up north or in the Northeast. Kansas is the furthest north I've been. So I don't really know what it's like up there or the West Coast, but yeah, in terms of the South, it's different for every single race, it seems like.
I've heard Watkins Glen is a hell of a party.
I've heard Michigan's a hell of a party. I'd be interested to go there.
I can imagine those
Everyone
north, they don't have anything to do all year.
Yeah.
Well, in Michigan, it's just like Midwest rednecks, if you've ever been up there.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah,
love
I
to
can
hunt
definitely
and
attest to
fish,
that.
and yeah, I mean they're just rednecks with a different accent.
Yeah, it's
so
Cold Alabama.
Yeah. Well, that's like if you listen to anyone in the industry, they're going to tell you that their favorite racetracks to go to are Talladega, and then second is always Michigan. As someone who's never really thought of Michigan as having the best kind of racing experience, I wouldn't even think of that being a thing. But apparently they race hell in Praise-Dale up there.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I know Belly Up Sports, like as a group, we've always talked about, renting out a couple spots and going up there as a company. And the year we planned to do it was COVID. So we just shut down everything, and we haven't really figured out since. But apparently it's on my short list of my bucket list. We did an episode on Chairgating about our bucket list tracks or races to attend, and that was on my top 5. So hopefully I'll get up there.
Yeah, hope you do. So just kind of a little bit of look into your life is kind of what we're trying to do here. Obviously you're hosting a podcast, right? So what got you into podcasting? I mean, for me, it was just trying to get my voice out there, and then I got with these two knuckleheads, and we've come up with something that I think works really well. It's gained a couple friends, and then, of course, whatever the future brings, right? But for you, you've been established for quite some time now. You're going to racetracks. I've seen you hanging out with fans. You and Dakota, shotgunning beers in the campgrounds, all kind of stuff like that. I mean, how has Rattlesnake, how has Matt changed from being just a fan to now someone who, I guess, actively works at podcasting and that side of the industry?
Yeah. I started Chairgating the podcast 4 years ago now, and I started it just because I really liked Pardon My Take and some other sports podcasts that kind of blended like humor with sports, and I really liked that concept. And I was like, damn, I'm really annoying and opinionated. I could do this. So I decided to do my own. Yeah. And it actually started as a college football podcast, believe it or not, because that's like my other favorite sport. And then I realized the seasons are really short. It's super, oversaturated with the amount of podcasts. I was like, what's my other favorite sport is NASCAR. And I was like, there's not that many, this was 4 years ago. I was like, there's not that many. Like Dale Jr. he hadn't even been doing the download that long. Yeah, there really wasn't that many options. So I was like, why not just like switch it over into NASCAR? I think that was the best decision. Made a lot of friends doing that. I've been able to interview a lot of drivers, team owners, reporters, stuff like that. And then this season, I decided to add a co-host, which was Dakota, just because I liked his energy. Yeah, Colton got passed up on that one.
To be fair,
Hey,
Rattlesnake was going to pick. He even sent me a text. Sorry, Dakota, for watching this. He's like, hey, I was going to pick you as my co-host, but you were doing this fan fuel thing, and I didn't know if that was going to interfere.
Well,
I was like, bro, I'd have recorded 3 times a week.
And Dakota was bought me a ticket to Atlanta, and I told everybody at the beginning, if you bribe me, I'm probably going to pick you. And Dakota was like, I'll buy you a ticket to a race. And I was like, boom. All right. My morals are pretty bad. So if you bribe me, I'll
Man, I'd have bought you Garth Brooks tickets and got you rodeo tickets for 4 days.
You say you woulda. You coulda.
I mean,
hey,
Garth tickets weren't on sale.
Hey, it's too late now, Colton. You're with us.
Yeah, exactly.
So no going back.
I think it worked out, though, because now I have Dakota, you're over here. And so now we can do our own things, but help each other out. So
yeah, and that's what
it's
we're
working
doing,
out.
So. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where I'm at with chairgating right now. I used to do a lot more interviews with drivers. And then I was all hyped about like, this is going to be my full-time gig. This is what I'm going to do for a living. And I was like, you know what? Let's be real. I'm married. I'm trying to buy a house. I have a real life. I should probably work a real job. So yeah, I mean, I have a real job like everybody else. And the podcasting, we have sponsors and it does well, but it's mostly just to talk shit and have fun with my friends. And so I've stopped doing a lot of the interview stuff. I know Dakota wants to get more back into that. So I might just let him handle driver interviews. And I just like chatting with people.
Yeah, that's one good thing that the three of us have kind of gotten good at, chatting with each other and kind of keeping ourselves on track while also letting some of our really hot takes go. And that's something that you guys do really, really well. I know I listen to podcasts kind of differently than people, so I'll let your guys' stuff stack up and I'll listen to it at work one week and then I'll do that with 4 or 5 other shows. So when I'm listening to you guys are always cutting up. You're always saying just outlandish things, and I love that about you guys.
Oh yeah.
So that no holds bar attitude. When I asked you, is that a persona earlier? You said it wasn't. How much has that gotten you in trouble over your 4 years of podcasting?
I mean, that gets me in trouble within my entire life. Okay. I think Colton, me and you were talking about like people who have been in fights, and like a lot of NASCAR, younger fans were like, man, these are kids that never get in fights. I'm like, I don't know if you call them fights, but I've got my ass kicked plenty in my life because of this type of attitude. So yeah, that's not a persona. This is actually who I am. And everything I say on a podcast, I will tell you to your face, whether you like it or not. And yeah, it's gotten me in trouble a lot. In terms of podcasting, I have lost a few connections that I did have for stuff that I say. And, I'm not apologetic about it. And sometimes I'm worried, I'm like, well, NASCAR gives us like credentials to races if we want them. At any point they might pull it because of some stupid shit that we do. So yeah, it's always a risk to get us in trouble. But I told Dakota even when he came on, I was like, just be yourself, and if it gets us in trouble, it gets us in trouble. But it's better than trying to filter ourselves. So yeah, this is who we both are.
I feel like if Portnoy was able to get media credentials before he started sponsoring cars, chairgating's probably good.
That's the thing, and that's what I've always said. Barstool Sports, whether people hate it or love it, it kind of did influence me to start talking, because I was like, well, these other people can do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, it's not like I always agree with everything they say, but their attitude towards things really kind of inspired me to want to do it.
Yeah, and that was something that I found interesting because there was kind of a war with them for a minute there, and I didn't understand because you got a very big, very popular company coming out and showing off NASCAR's product and bringing different types of fans into the stands, onto the TV screen, and I thought it was a big thing. And if there were someone that got other people to do similar sort of stuff, kind of like what you're alluding to, why you started your podcast, that's always good for the sport. On that note, we always ask our guests what sort of state they think that the sport is in and then what they would do to make it better. So I'm going to pass that to you.
All right. How long does this episode go for? 3 hours? Okay. Just give me 3 hours. Let's discuss this. This is like, those two questions is pretty much the entire podcast of chairgating. I mean, when Colton came on, I think I asked Colton, like, what I want all of my guests to think, what's the line that you would draw to where you essentially boycott NASCAR, and just have something like that in your mind, because you never know. NASCAR might get to that line sooner than you think. So in terms of the state of NASCAR, I think we should it's all nice to, say like, well, everything's good and dandy, but it's not. Let's be honest. I mean, just look at viewership and attendance over the past 10 years, 20 years. Obviously, it's not in a good place. They are doing some things right and they're doing some things wrong. But at the end of the day, it's like the place we're at right now is not good, and they need to fix it. So I don't know. I don't know what I would do to fix it. There's a lot of things I think I would do to fix it. I don't think I have the time to discuss everything I would do to fix it, because it would start at the car, it would go to the marketing, the places they're racing, the drivers, how they handle fan attendance.
Right.
Just about everything that needs to be fixed. So I don't know. Something that I looked at today on Twitter. It was people arguing because Bob Pockris said that there was gonna be someone doing the Daytona pre-race, and a lot of people were like, another country artist. I know that you said you're thick blood redneck, whatever. So I'm assuming that you're in that demographic. No.
So you're not. Okay,
nope.
Good. So this is gonna go really well. So this is a discussion for all of us to have, because I had it with someone. As far as going into the country market for pre-race concerts, one of the things that I always talk about on here is we need to get more fan activation at the track to get more fans in the stands. And going after a country market, I don't feel is worth anything, because most of the people that come to a race already like country. You're not inviting those people to come do something new because their favorite artists are there. So I'll start off with you, Matt. Do you think bringing hip hop, rap, pop stars, maybe lower tier, because that's all we can afford as tracks, I don't know, or higher tier would be good? Like they just did the crossover with Post Malone, with Denny and Bubba. So do you think bringing some of those guys in for a pre-race concert would help grow the sport?
That's a tough one. Honestly, I don't know if hip hop is your answer, but I don't think you have to get these middle tier country artists every single time, because I don't know who likes those people. I know they're probably pretty popular, but like what you were saying, that's the NASCAR fan base already. But at the same time, you can't go too far out and try to attract a completely different audience, because you do need to please your fans. So if you bring in some rapper that none of these 50-year-old NASCAR drivers or fans have ever heard of, that might also backfire. I saw somebody comment, and they might have been joking. They said Kid Rock. And I was like, that shouldn't be a joke. That's the type of person that actually could bring in, a lot of people. It's going to please the old 50-year-old white guys. It's going to please maybe some of the younger people, maybe some of the hip hop stuff. Somebody like that, essentially. Super Bowl always does a really good job with some alternative rock band that pleases everybody. So my point is, it doesn't have to be country, but it needs to be kind of in the middle, like ride the fine line.
Yeah.
We going me
Colton, Nathan?
Please.
Yeah.
Hey. So, to Rattlesnake's point, I mean, you got to find something that you can't go too drastic too quick. I think Posty would be a good one, just because he's already kind of done a little bit of NASCAR crossover.
Who?
Posty. Good old Post Malone.
Oh, Post Malone.
Yeah.
I'm not hip to stuff. You have to slow it down for me.
I think he'd be a good one. Even the hip hop. I mean, I see hip hop artists all the time rocking a NASCAR jacket. An old Jeff Gordon something. So they at least know about it. But I mean, to Rattlesnake's point about the 50-year-old guys at the concerts, are they really going to the concerts? Are they? Yeah. I mean, I only see college age kids for the most part. I'm sure there's a few older folks spread out in there. But you need to get something. Whatever the Barstool sports crowd is, that's what we need to be going after. We don't need to be going after a lot of the latte drinkers, things like that. I mean, we're a rough kind of redneck sport.
Yeah.
Let's get the college kids involved in some way. Bring on Greta Van Fleet. Bring on Post Malone. Bring on stuff that they kind of like. Even if they are football, basketball fans, they're going to kind of draw to that artist and then grow from there. I mean, eventually they're going to grow up and they're going to have kids too. And what we need is more 40-year-olds in the stands here in 20 years rather than keep trying to chase the 20-somethings and the teen-somethings.
Absolutely.
So I think like a modern rock, Greta Van Fleet would be a really good one. Something like Imagine Dragons probably wouldn't be too bad. I definitely think this whole Nashville, Chris Lane, bubblegum, pop, country thing.
I don't even know those guys.
I
listen to country and I don't know them.
Yeah, I listen to country and I've completely turned off all the Nashville radio stations in my truck just because it's way more pop. And if we're going to get a pop country guy in there, I'd rather just see a pop artist than see Maroon 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you could have said that any better. I think you need to get my age demographic more involved in that stuff. But at the same time, it's kind of hard because you don't know if a 20-something-year-old college kid is going to go to a concert and then stay for a 500-mile race after that. And that's the thing that I'm kind of concerned with. I don't know how you're going to do that, but it's a start.
Yeah, and show up for the concert. And I mean, if you say
stick around for the race,
concert, right? 200 of them are probably going to stick around.
Yeah, it's better than nothing.
Yeah,
and that was what I was saying to some people on Twitter that thought that the idea of not having country people was bad because you want to please the fans that are already there. I'll say this: there's a lot of people last week at Atlanta. They were all outside, and then when I go inside, Breland is playing. I don't know if you guys know who that is. It's a young black artist, and he does what he calls cross country because he does some like blues and hip hop with his country music. And when I went inside, traditionally, that's not a black market in Atlanta Motor Speedway. And I'll say that as someone who's been to that racetrack. There was a lot of younger black families out there listening to the concert. They stuck around for the race. Now, that's good for getting a newer demographic. Now, when you look at other places, obviously you need to check out who's around there. Who do you want to get out to the racetrack? We have no representation of most other races other than the white male in the pre-race concert. And I know that's a touchy subject, but we've got a owner in Pitbull now. Where are the Latinx before races and stuff like that? And I might be the only one on this show to say that we need something like that, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to go out and get those demographics to come to a race. Because like Colton said, if you get just 200 to stick around, well, maybe you got 400 at the next because they all bring a friend.
Well, I mean, would you be worried about getting a band that plays Spanish music? Everybody else that's there is like, I don't even know what they're saying. I mean, Pitbull would be a great artist because he's the type of guy that can bridge gaps.
Yeah, I think it's
somebody like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I just feel like
that's like
Gabriel Iglesias, not the comedian. What's the other one? Enrique Iglesias.
Yeah.
He makes bangers. He makes
yeah. I just feel like a pop, like what Colton was saying, like somebody super poppy that can kind of bridge the gaps. It doesn't have to be country. But yeah, somebody that can maybe more bridge gaps, like what you were saying, the artists in Atlanta, that would.
Yeah, well, it would be based on the demographic where you are. So like you would probably get more of a hip hop style if you were closer to New York City or something, or out in LA, you're gonna have like the Maroon 5s and stuff like that at Auto Club. You go to the Daytona 500. Why don't we have a massive pre-race celebration like they do the halftime show at the Super Bowl? You could have a Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande. You could have, pretty much any big name. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Because a lot of people have turned Imagine Dragons into the new Nickelback, so it's like the whole thing to hate them.
Yeah, like you're going to get flamed if you listen to it.
Let's steer into it and get Nickelback. And now let's bring Nickelback.
There you go.
I've been on this for years. Nickelback writes bangers, dude. They know this.
So what we need to do is we need to bring Montreal to the Cup schedule and just have a Nickelback 3-hour pre-race concert.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm about it.
Entire discography.
I bet
yeah.
you would get so much media attention about how funny that is. It might work.
Yeah, I think
steer to the skid.
Sometimes, like people say, even bad attention is still good publicity. So, yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up because it was an interesting topic I saw on Twitter. As far as fan amenities, though, you being one of the older fans of this group of four right now, because I know Nathan's only 19. When I look. Yeah, I'm calling you old. So when you used to go to races, I'm assuming you've been going for quite some time. When you were going in the mid 2000s and the 2010s versus now, what is your kind of critiques, I guess, for that fan zone outside of the track? Because for me, I think it's so bare bones now that it's not helping anyone who's there enjoy their experience.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we need to actually fill up the grandstands like we used to. I think that would help a lot. I mean, that was one big difference. Now you can, it's kind of nice because you can sit wherever you want, but that's not really a good thing for the sport. Yeah, in terms of the fan experience, I think part of it was because they sold out every race and it was such a big spectacle that companies were interested in investing money and time into the sport. Whereas now, I think it's kind of hard for them to convince these companies and groups to want to invest the time and the money into this sport when you turn on TV and half the grandstands are empty. You go to a local dirt track and you're not going to see much stuff going on there. So I think that's associated with it. I wouldn't be totally against them going, I know this is probably controversial, going back to the merch tent instead of the haulers. I know people love the haulers, but I mean, if you're a fan of Bubba Wallace or Eric Amarola or Ricky Stenhouse Jr., at least in the tent, you had hats and T-shirts and stickers that you could buy. Right. I mean, even as an Austin Dillon fan, RCR has to share their color these days with just Chevrolet merchandise. It is really sad. So, yeah, I don't know. That's one thing that I think might be fun to go back to, but I think a lot of NASCAR fans just like the nostalgia of the haulers.
Yeah, that's one thing that we talked about earlier in earlier shows is just how fans are a little bit stubborn with change, and that's something that I think these guys can attest to. Even if we
I'll chime in on that for sure.
If we do something great, I agree. I love the Fanatics tents because you could just spend a few minutes everywhere, get all your stuff, and then leave rather than having to spend 20, 30 minutes in 3 different lines because you wanted a hat from this driver, a diecast from this driver, and a pennant from the Chevrolet hauler. It was better for fans, but it changed the tradition, and that's what was pissing off fans. And we've had plenty of talk, with Nathan. He thinks that the July race being in August now for Daytona, it's not a good move because of tradition. So we've had discussion of that. It's just
my time. I think my take on this is more so the merchandise itself rather than, say, tents versus haulers, because, even in the days when the Fanatics tent was at Daytona, I remember that there wasn't a lot of unique merchandise between the drivers. If it was all stemming from Fanatics or NASCAR.com, all the shirt designs were similar. You would see everything that was kind of cookie cutter. And I think if the merchandise, like you said now, was a little bit different, it'd be better, because the problem being, you've got an entire hauler for every Chevy driver that isn't owned by Rick Hendrick. Those are the only individual trailers. You have Chase Elliott, you have Kyle Busch, that's it. Everything else is under one. And if there was more unique merchandise per driver or stuff that was designed by the team itself, you'd probably see more sales. But I don't know. I'd probably wait in line for 40 minutes if there was some sort of special merchandise I could buy.
Something I brought up and recommended in my podcast, I don't know if this would ever happen, but I mean, why don't we have both? Fanatics sells their merch and the teams can sell their merch out of their haulers. And so you have the best of both worlds. I didn't really understand why you can't just have both. I'm sure there's something, some legal shit there, but that was my suggestion. I was like, why not both? It's like that.
You look at, say, the dirt drivers, they have their own website, R&R Racewear and all that kind of stuff that they make uniquely designed merchandise and they sell it at tracks. I don't see why we can't do the same thing.
Yeah.
Also,
Well, I think you get.
Jared, PK Jared 9 on Twitter.
Yep.
He went to the World Outlaws race. He's going to send me a Sheldon Hot and Shield shirt. Oh, I finally get one. I'm so stoked.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he was. We have a group chat with Jared, and he was telling you you should ride up to one of those races that are close to you. So you gonna make the trip to North or South Dakota?
My brother is moving in at the end of this month, and so he's going to take about $500 off my rent. So I just might. I really just.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So you know what? Let's steer the conversation in that direction. Rattlesnake, we know you said earlier you like watching college football alongside NASCAR. But for me, as someone who's driven through Texas, my fiance's parents used to live in Brownsville, so we had a 16-hour ride from here.
Damn.
There's one racetrack between the border of Louisiana and the border of Mexico. How is short track local racing in your area around Austin, right?
Yeah, it's not great. Texas is not a state with a racing culture, to be honest. It's honestly it's high school football, then college football, and then probably rodeos, and then like NFL and everything else from there. That it's a football culture, and racing doesn't really. Racing would come in behind right around hockey, where it's just not that big here. We do have tracks. The closest, short dirt track to me is probably an hour and a half away. That's the closest one. World of Outlaws was running there, and it's not on their schedule anymore. So I don't even know what's going on there. If you go to any schedule for any kind of racing series that does late model dirt, sprints, even modifieds, you will almost never find Texas on any schedule. It's pretty sad. So it's not a great culture for racing here, to be honest. I mean, we have the Austin race now, which is nice, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a question to ask. I know. I mean, I've heard nothing but bad things about Texas high school football and how much hell it's caused on like families and stuff like that.
What do you mean, bad
I guess maybe. Well, I've heard that it's so serious down there that it literally breaks up families, and there are people getting in fights and stuff. They had the whole TV series about it. I don't know.
I will say
the fact that they don't have time on the weekends because they're doing so much with their kids with football.
I will say this. I mean, the town I grew up in, which is just north of Austin, it's where they filmed Varsity Blues. They film episodes of Friday Night Lights there. And it's a real thing where on Friday nights, they really do shut down all the businesses. And then when I was living there was over 20,000 people. It's not a little tiny honky-tonk town. But businesses legit will all be closed, and everyone's at the stadium. Our stadium held just under 12,000 people. It sells out every single Friday night.
Damn.
Yeah. So in terms of Texas high school football, if it's 6A or 5A, more than likely more people are watching that than the middle tier college teams in Texas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's very, very serious.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Man, I couldn't imagine that. I mean, we had obviously high school football, but we only sold out our rival games with our crosstown rivals, and we had shots fired at a couple of those, so that was interesting. But
no shots fired. That's not the type of time.
Okay, that's what I hear. I hear rumors on the internet that it's like hell down there because they're so competitive. So I wanted to ask you about that.
I love it. We the towns next to you will hate each other because of their football team. I mean, it's all in good fun. Obviously there's fights in high school, that's unavoidable, but I think it's fun. I love the rivalries that we have down here, and I love college football more than the NFL. I'm a Texans fan, and that's probably the reason I barely keep up with the NFL. But in terms of college football, I will watch every Saturday. I'm watching like every game. That's my whole Saturday. Kind of like my whole Sunday's NASCAR. So,
yeah, well, I think, we get into that because we're watching IndyCar, Formula One, and IMSA and all that good stuff. So, yeah, well, I guess kind of moving on, is there anything else that you want to bring up? Maybe Colton, do you have anything that you guys have talked about previously that you guys want to bring up?
Not anything specifically. I just have a group chat with Rattlesnake, and he and I go back and forth quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it bleeds off onto Twitter. If you see that. So I'm currently rallying to try to get him and I start a podcast, something like what's that one with Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless? Undisputed. But we just
There you go.
about NASCAR the whole time, right? Because our takes are so polar opposite 99% of the time. All we do is just banter back and forth. So, I mean, I hate Rattlesnake, but I love him too. Like
I know Colton's
like,
so ugly. It's tough to
like a
talk
brother
to
kind
him.
of thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like anyone else can be, or anyone else can. No one else can talk shit on my brother but me, you know.
Yep.
And I'll just sit there and beat on his ass all day. You know.
No, he won't.
Yeah.
I'm the older brother, so I will beat on his ass. But yes, that's essentially the relationship.
Yeah.
Well, you have the more powerful mustache, so I think you win just by
Exactly.
default. So.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, he's got like 10 years on me.
Yeah, and like 100 pounds probably. So,
I don't know. I'm about 200.
oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to call myself fat, but I guess you did it for yourself. So yeah.
Yeah,
Nate,
it's
you always
fine.
got a good question. What do you got?
Who, me? Huh?
Yeah.
What? I
You
don't even know what
always
you guys
got
are
a good
on.
question. What do you got?
No, I guess I'm going to have to go to the default because I got really caught off guard here. So I'm just going to say this is the default. I do this for every single fan spotlight. We actually talked long enough before I forgot it up until Colton came on. So I'm going to have to go with this. You have to pick one race in person that you can go back to attend. Like, what's your favorite and why?
Like a race that I did attend that I can go
Yeah.
back and attend
Mhm.
again.
Yeah, like whether it's the
Oh.
experience, whether your driver won, you know, anything.
That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. Probably my first Talladega. That was such an experience. I mean, it's when I was like, holy shit, you know, this is
When was
When-
that?
2013, I believe. 2013 or 14. I'd have to go back and
Okay.
like Instagram and check.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my first time ever going to Talladega. I was in college, drove
Mhm.
out, so it would have been 13 probably. Drove out there with a group of fraternity brothers. None of us really knew what we were getting into. Most of us were pretty good, you know, NASCAR fans, at least would keep up with the sport. Some of us never went to a race before, and that experience was just like any other. That's where I got the nickname Rattlesnake. You know, stuff that we will never talk about again.
Yeah.
One of those experiences. It was just that was the best. I mean, probably next to my wedding, that will be the most remembered day of my life, I think.
Is that just because your wife's watching
Yeah.
somewhere?
Yeah, that's exactly why I said next to the wedding.
I get it. Cheyenne.
Yeah.
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 What? Well, if you had one race that you never attended, like, what's your favorite race of all time that you wish you could go back in time and see?
Honestly, probably Austin Dillon winning the Daytona 500.
I was there.
That's a very
you?
controversial race.
Yeah, I was.
Oh man, yeah, just because that would be really cool to see my favorite driver win the Daytona 500. That would have been awesome, and I would have fought every single two Eric Almirola fans that were there. So
Man, that was interesting to me because I actually picked Almirola to win that race.
Oh,
and I had
shit.
money on him, and I was. I don't mind Austin Dillon. I just wasn't happy
That
with the outcome of that
sucks.
race.
Yeah,
I was
you'd have
like,
been fighting
come on.
Nate. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
I
I'm
mean,
fine. The
just-
next year, I had Hamlin win the race, and I was there. So
damn.
I'll take anything I lost that year for 2019.
Yeah, I don't know. That was a big controversy. I know I was furious with Austin after that race because I was like, "Are you kidding me? He just
I
took
think the
10 out.
damage
He
what
knows
made
what
it
he
worse. Like that
Yeah.
kind of just rubbed the salt in everyone's wounds.
Yeah, I mean, I will defend my driver. I think he made the moves necessary to win the Daytona 500, and I would hope he would do it again, given the same circumstance. This last race, he had the chance to be a little dirty to Almirola again, and he did not. So there you go, Almirola.
I'm in your boat. I dumped someone to win the Daytona 500 too.
Right.
And it's not like he dumped him
Like,
and
hey, I'm just glad
He
I was
really
there.
didn't. He went
he
for a
pushed
block.
someone up, and that was it, right?
He went for a block. It was a little late, but he did just go for a block. Almirola, if he didn't want to wreck, could have, let off a
He
little
coulda-
bit.
Yeah, could have
That's all I'm
just
saying.
yielded, but
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it
neither
was
one wanted to.
Exactly. Almirola did what he thought he had to do to try to get the win. I mean, I don't blame anybody, but I
Yeah.
mean, my
That was
driver
wrong.
won.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Yeah,
I'm just glad I was there for it all. Like that's
easy for me to
pretty
say.
fun.
Putting some distance with time on there, it definitely says, oh yeah, well I do the same thing. I don't remember if it was Rusty Wallace or Tony Stewart, but one of them said they wrecked their grandma to win that race. So
sounds like something Tony Stewart would say.
Yeah. So definitely, I think that would be something that would happen if I was in Austin's shoes as well. We saw that basically happen this year's Daytona 500 as well, with all the pushing going on between the 222 and McDowell. So, I mean, hey, Great American Race, you only get to win it once if you're lucky.
Exactly.
And then if you're Denny Hamlin, you win it multiple times. But we'll gloss over that. Don't want to gloat too much. So moving on, we do want to go into some kind of controversy here. We do on this podcast, woke or joke. It's kind of like spot on, spot off. You'll say woke if you think it's a good thing, joke if you don't think it's a good thing, and then we'll get into just everything with it. So for this weekend's racing at New Hampshire, I got a couple here. I'm going to go with you first, Matt, and then Colton and Nathan, and then myself, and we'll kind of just go around our little four-screen square here. So, woke or joke with the 54 car from Joe Gibbs having 7 wins as a star car, if you don't count Ty Gibbs as kind of an underdog win. Is that good for the series to have Cup guys coming in and dominating in this one car?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Woke. I'll go woke.
All right. Anything to add?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought we went around. Yeah, I mean, I just think competition's fine. I know. I mean, I understand both sides of the argument. So honestly, I don't know. I don't know where I stand on this, to be quite honest. I haven't really thought about it too much.
I'm gonna go woke.
All right, never mind. I'll go joke.
What? I'm a punch you. I'm gonna go woke. I like the Cup guys going around and kind of beating up on these younger drivers for a minute. I think it's good. I mean, you look at the rookie classes that came out in the mid 2000s, the Denny Hamlins, the Clint Boyers, things like that. Even back in when Dale Earnhardt was racing, a lot of really good rookies took that as a challenge. I mean, we saw it last year with Chase Briscoe. He flat out beat Kyle Busch at Darlington, earned himself a Cup ride. He hasn't shown it quite yet, but rookies rarely ever do. I think it's really good for them to get that experience racing with a Cup guy. Whether it be, I mean, obviously we're not going to see Kyle Busch anymore, but we see it with Christopher Bell, Martin Truex, guys like that. I think it's pretty woke. Again, I understand both sides of it, but I'm going to go woke.
Yeah, I think I'm going to add on to that. I would say woke too. Like I get the other side of it, but I think most of it is just due to the car being so good that they can just hop in and win. It's not some mediocre car. It's a JGR 54, and it almost reminds me of when Ganassi had their 42 back in, I think, what was it, 2018? Chastain gets in, he wins. Nemechek gets in, he wins. Larson gets in, he wins. It's just that's what happens when you put in great drivers in great cars.
Yeah, well, I'm going to agree with the sentiment, but I'm going to have to go joke just based on this was a golden era thing for the Busch series at the time. In the Nationwide series, we had the Cup drivers in, but they can't run for points anymore. They can't run more than 5 races. So I think just having work whittled down now, we don't have one of these star cars with even Junior Motorsports anymore. We don't have one with RCR. We don't have one with Penske anymore. I think only having one star car with the 54 car is terrible for the series. So if we don't force the Cup guys in other cars for like the RCR Xfinity team, the Junior Motorsports team, the Penske team, I think it's just worthless because you don't have any competition within those experience levels. So for me, it's a joke because we only have the one car. So if y'all don't want to rebuttal, we'll move on.
I think that's good perspective. I think we get to see both sides of it, and I could entertain both sides. I could agree with either one.
Left side of the screen sucks.
What'd you say?
Left side of the screen sucks.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll take it.
You suck.
All right, so well, this one, PJ1 has been a controversy since basically they started using it at Bristol a couple years ago. But this weekend they were going to use PJ1. Then they decided they can't use it with the modified, so they're not going to use it on Saturday. We're going to apply it on Sunday. And then late Friday afternoon, they said they're not going to apply it because there were supposed to be showers Saturday night and Sunday morning. So the lateness of that call, no PJ1, was that a woke or joke for NASCAR?
I'm gonna go woke simply, and I'll answer this by asking everyone a question. When's the last time New Hampshire was the best race we've seen halfway through the season?
You know,
never.
Probably never.
Is the only answer.
Yeah.
And so I don't care if the teams didn't know about it last second. That was the best race in probably we've had all season. So whatever makes the best racing, I support. And I don't care if your team didn't know about it. I mean, hell, Eric Almirola won it because of this random thing they threw out.
Yeah.
I think it was great. 100% support it.
I'm on the fence here. I want to go joke immediately just because the teams have already had their setup set. We probably would have seen a different winner had they applied the PJ1. And New Hampshire's one of the, if not the only track where the PJ1 actually works, and it doesn't single out the track. I am going to go woke just because it did throw a different winner in there. It made teams kind of scramble and figure out how to set up the cars right. We saw a whole lot of strategies, a whole lot of adjustments being made all race. And I mean, to Rattlesnake's point, that was a pretty damn good race. So, I mean, I'm on the fence. I see both sides here.
Yeah, I'm going to go woke. I think that it did change up the complexion of the race a lot. You know, it's kind of like whenever there's a race to halfway, sometimes you'll see things change around. Everything gets flipped on its head. And I will say this, though. I think Eric Almirola did get that race on merit because if you look at his stats in the last couple New Hampshire races, he's been pretty silently in contention to win the races. So I think it definitely helped him, but I don't think that he wouldn't have had a chance if the PJ1 was there.
Yeah, I know a lot of fans say this is one of, if not the only racetrack that the PJ1 actually helps. But for me, I have to go I'm going to have to go joke on the decision, but woke on the fact that there was no PJ1 on Sunday. So I hate that the teams didn't have time to put a new setup in, do all that stuff because their cars were in the haulers, whether they had arrived at the track or not. We don't know exactly when they got there. But for me, New Hampshire's always been a driver's racetrack. I've always respected it. I missed that second date because even though they tend to have been boring races by most people's standards, they always produce the best race car drivers to win the race rather than just the cars. So I think we saw that yesterday get a little bit shaken up because of the decision. Or I guess Sunday, Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, to your point, Almirola was always good there. The fact that there was no PJ1 just allowed him to be that much better because he does know the track very well. And we even saw guys that silently do good, like the Matt DiBenedettos, like those kind of guys, the Tyler Reddicks that can really wheel a car. We saw them all do really good just because there was no extra grip. And can we all be on the side of no PJ1 anywhere forever?
Right.
I think to a degree. I think hopefully, I don't want to get too optimistic about this, but I'm saying that if the new car can put on a better product, then maybe we don't have to rely on the PJ1 every single place we go.
PJ1, screw it.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, that's a totally different conversation.
Right. That makes
actually
sense.
Something that Rattlesnake said earlier is one of the things that he would fix because we didn't have enough time was the car itself. So if we do that, if we fix the car, we don't need PJ1. There's no reason to even put any additives on the track, in my opinion. The only place that I think it really worked was Nashville because that surface hadn't been raced on for so long, and that rosin or whatever they put on the baseball bats that they put on the track, it worked because it helped it rubber up. I don't think it's necessary anywhere else.
Right.
I think it's necessary next year when we go to Nashville. But moving on.
Losers. Thank you, Dakota.
Yeah. Moving on. to Sunday, we had quite an eventful start to the race. Before we even got into the good stuff, just missed all day. Weepers are coming in. And then we go racing, and not even I think it was lap 8 that we had that first caution. So I guess this is kind of an interesting one to put in a question for him. But Walker joke on the wreck that happened with the 18 and 19 due to the rain, and you can take that and interpret it any way you want.
I mean, I don't know if there's any other answer other than joke. I mean, this is just a bad decision by NASCAR. They've proven all season that they're really good at making bad decisions in terms of weather. And this just exemplified that, I think, to a T, because they keep saying, like, well, these are, learning decisions and, we'll grow from this. But it's like we're halfway through the season and y'all are still making terrible decisions. So I don't know what they're going to do, but it's almost impressive with how bad their decisions are when it comes to weather. So 100% joke, absolute joke.
Yeah, agree completely. It's a joke. I sent out a tweet and I listed off some of the incidents. I didn't list off all of them, but like the Johnny Sauter wreck at Charlotte, where they should have thrown a caution but didn't. The Coda race where they should have slowed the cars down or thrown a caution but didn't. A whole bunch of BS cautions, like the Brandon Jones kind of half spin, saved it immediately. They throw a caution for that, right? There's a whole list of them that I could go down. It's a complete joke that they didn't call this. The pace car during pace laps was saying, "Hey, it's raining over here. Hey, the track is super wet," and they gave them immediately 1 to go. Kind of thing. I could see on my TV, and Cheyenne was sitting there with me. She can attest to this in the comments. I told her 3 laps before that, "Hey, it's raining there." You could see it on the cameras. I mean, it's a complete joke that the fans sitting there watching the race, knew that it was raining, and NASCAR didn't do anything about it. I went back and I watched the IndyCar race, the one where
Will Power.
With Will Power, he, the famous meme, him giving the finger to the officials, and the similarities between that race and this are uncanny. It's the same track, it's the same kind of situation. And the same thing happened with, they bring the president of the company up and into the booth and said, "Here, you talk about this for a second." And the IndyCar, I don't know if he was the president, if he was the race director, but he owned it. He completely said, "We have an egg on our face right now. We should have done this. We should have done that. Here's what we're going to do moving forward. We apologize." And what did the Steve do when he went up to the booth? He said, "Well, we made the best decision. We didn't think yada, yada, yada," and play politician. And I think that's really what made more people upset. Rather than the not calling for the rain, it was the whole fact of deflecting all the questions and deflecting the blame. Just like with the Charlotte wreck, just giving excuses for everything instead of saying, "Hey, we effed up here." So that's more so what I think people got upset about, and that's more so what I'm a joke about, rather than the not throwing the caution, because we've seen that before. But the not owning it really left a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah, I would agree. I look back at things like there was a Homestead race back in 2015, I would say, where there was some car dropping oil all over the track, and they were complaining for lap after lap after lap. And the tower would say, "Yeah, no, track's clear." And eventually, after probably 5 or 10 minutes of arguing, they finally got a caution out there. And I almost think that it's just dense from an official standpoint to just not even regard what the drivers are saying about the track, because, they know the conditions of the track. They're out there. I just don't understand, number one, why that would happen, and number two, the deflection afterwards, because it just makes everything look bad, because we already know the disconnect between the sport and the drivers is pretty bad right now.
Yeah, those are all good points. For me, I'm going to go, not only is this a joke from a standpoint of, what happened. We lost 2 good race cars that might have, A, stunk up the show, so, or B, made a even better race than what we had. But when it comes to this, to me, I think it's ironic because they tested the moist, damp track tires at
Martinsville
earlier, and they thought it was a good test, but they didn't put into production the tires. They said they could be ready for New Hampshire. They didn't get them ready. I feel like this would have been the perfect situation to see if damp tire racing worked. So I think it was a huge missed opportunity for them not to push Goodyear to make tires for this weekend. And we wouldn't have lost 2 race cars because of that, despite the stupid decision.
I like your pun of missed opportunity.
Yeah. Like, where's the intermediate tires?
Yeah. I mean, that's where I'm at with it. I mean, I don't trust NASCAR to make the right decision in most cases. So, it was inevitable that somebody was going to back into the fence. The fact that it was the leaders probably made some people happy because they were Toyotas. So, I mean, that's where I'm at with it. If we'd have had damp tires on, maybe we could have raced through that whole session because, that rain shower, I don't know if it got damp enough or I guess wet enough to bring out a red flag if those tires were as good as they wanted to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And following that incident, the 18 was trashed. You heard Kyle's comments on pit road, but prior to that, he roughed up the pace car a little bit. So NASCAR actually decided not to fine him. So I guess they know that they're in the wrong here. But just the fact that he hit the pace car, the worker joke.
Probably not a popular decision, but joke. Honestly,
okay.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, there's gonna be some debate in this one.
Joke.
We're fighting now. Yeah.
100% joke. That's not how you handle it. That's not how you don't hit the back of the pace car. You should never do that. I think that's everyone knows. Don't run into the pace car. And also, if he didn't do that, he just got angry and did it. Like, that's 100% what happened. We can't pretend like he was like, this is gonna prove the best. No, he just got angry and did it. He was hot-headed. I thought it was a bad move. It kind of also makes him look bad. Like, he was just acting out of anger. What he should have done is just after the race, made a much more bold statement. Well, he couldn't do that because of his actions. He was kind of boxed in. Yeah, he didn't get fined, but he also couldn't speak out more about it, which is, I think, would have been way more powerful than just like acting like an idiot and running into the back of the pace car.
No, you're wrong, and here's why. Here's a list of reasons why.
His Irish could be good.
He alluded in his interview. He can't say NASCAR has been very clear about this to the drivers. You can't say stuff to the public, otherwise you will get fined.
Yeah,
right? You can't speak out against them. But what can he do?
That's BS. Yes, you can.
Bullshit.
Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Larson. The list goes on. In the past,
those guys have talked about
have
secret
spoken out
fines
against NASCAR,
but they don't go out in their interview and say, "Hey, NASCAR." If
right, they're not doing it on broadcast.
Right. Yeah, they are. They'll be interviewed, post-race interviews, pre-race interviews, and people ask them about how they think about
the post and pre-race interviews. I don't watch them, and I'm a diehard fan.
You know what post-race interviews?
Kyle Busch, right after
he
crashes after NASCAR didn't throw a caution. You know how you get NASCAR's attention? You hit the damn pace car. Dale Earnhardt did it. Martin Truex did it. Kyle Busch has done it before. Tony Stewart did it.
What good is going to come of that?
Cole Trickle didn't do it.
Attention is going to come of that. That's what he was going for. He's not going for, hey, I'm going to wreck whoever's driving the pace car, Brett Bodine, whoever it is nowadays. He's not after them. He's going for NASCAR, right? And what he was trying to do, and I believe this with 100% intent, was cut that left rear down with the pace car. He's trying to bend that fender in, get him a tire up, blow that tire out. And he hit him pretty good. If he wanted to wreck the pace car, he would have trashed the pace car. If Ron Hornaday was in the pace car,
trying to take it out.
Put it in the wall, right?
Right.
100% woke, because that's how you get the attention. That's how you voice your displeasure, especially in this scenario. I'm not saying do it every week, every time you're mad at NASCAR, but in this situation, NASCAR was solely to blame for him wrecking his car. NASCAR was solely to blame for this entire decision. You go touch their pace car, you give them a bill, right? You don't just speak out against them. You give them something they got to pay for, right?
Yeah, because I'm sure that really hurt I'm sure NASCAR is having to write that check going, man, I wish Kyle wouldn't have done this. If we would have called it, we wouldn't have had to pay this, $1,000.
To Alex's point, they understood they messed up because they didn't fine him. They didn't penalize him.
Yeah, I think he could have spoken up and it would have been more powerful.
Nope. I would disagree completely. This is one of our group chat banters that we're going to have right now. You're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm right.
No, I'm not. No.
I don't know, Nathan. You have anything to settle this? Or?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go woke on the decision. I do agree that yes, it was hot-headed, but it was justifiable hot-headedness. You know, his race was straight up destroyed by that decision. So, you know, I probably wouldn't be the guy to go out there and do that, but I do understand at the same time why he did it. So it was almost, in a sense, I'm not going to do that myself, but I do understand the logic and everything behind it because it was to some extent justified.
Yeah. So Rattlesnake, you make a very, very convincing argument, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to jump ship. I'm not coming with you on this one. It is. You know, as Colton just said, all my homies agree with KFB. Okay, so I can break this down into two things. What you said about him talking to the media would have been more powerful. I can say that Colton's probably right that he would have got fined because I feel like those guys that you listed off aren't saying that except for when they're talking to Bob Pockris or, you know, Matt Weaver after the race.
How would he have gotten fined for saying something if he didn't get fined for causing actual damage to one of their cars?
I mean, Hamlin's talked about secret fines before. Like, I don't know.
If he's not going to get fined for hitting a pace car, he's not going to get fined for saying something negative about them not.
No, because this is where I agree with you. I think it would have been more powerful if he had said something. He would have gotten fined. But they kind of, I agree with that sentiment. But in that, what he did is, you trashed my car, I'm going to trash yours. So that's how I feel.
It's not the same, I think. And also, why not just bring your car down then and just, you know, take it back and say, I'm not racing in this race if they're not going to, you know, be able to make, you know, safe calls. That's a better protest. I think that
he would have to do that in 2 weeks when it had flown all the way over.
Kyle Busch was angry. He's hot-headed. He made a decision, and now we're all trying to justify it after the fact. The fact is, if he actually would have thought about it, I think there was much better decisions to make than running in the back of the pace car.
Okay, well, he had 2 unbleeped cuss words on screen. You know, what can we do with this shit? It's not going to fucking run, is what he said. And then once he got onto the interview, he said, we're trash, we can't do this. And then he said, I can't call out what I want to say because I'm going to get in trouble. So to me, he did what he thought he could in the, I guess, heat of the moment. I don't know. If you trash my car, and I know it's a decision that a race director should have made, knowing that they asked the pace car for weather advice, I think it's a truly justifiable action because you trash my Camry, I'm going to trash yours. I don't know.
2 things. One is it doesn't necessarily have to come as a fine. DBC alluded to this a couple weeks ago where they said if you speak out against NASCAR, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get a speeding penalty on pit road the next week, maybe 2 or 3 of them. Because NASCAR doesn't.
That's a very decent point. You know, they have a lot of things in their hands they can control.
Right. They can say, hey, speed limit's 50. You were 50.1 in this section, and they can.
Hey, you failed pre-race.
They can. They can. They'll find other ways to hurt you rather than just coming out in the public and saying, hey, we're fining him $25,000 for this. And that's what they've done in the past. Again, DBC, Brett Griffin and Freddie Kraft have alluded to this, and they've said, hey, guess what's coming next week? You know, post the 11, post the 2, right? Speeding on pit road. The other thing is, I think him saying, I can't say this on air or I'll get fined or I'll get in trouble by NASCAR spoke a hell of a lot more than him actually going out.
Right.
That's what I was kind of
thinking. I think that said a ton more rather than him coming out and said, F NASCAR, F this, F that.
Okay, so what you're saying is hitting the pace car was more powerful than if he had made a statement that he would have been fined for, right? Like hitting the pace car caused more. Okay, so then why would they punish him? Okay, then why would they punish him for saying something if it is less effective than not fine him for hitting the pace car?
Because NASCAR's a PR company. They're all about their image. They're all about people supporting NASCAR rather than people supporting KFB.
Yeah, but if it causes more attention, then they should serve a harsher punishment so other drivers don't want to do that in the future.
He might get a speeding penalty next week.
NASCAR knows they effed up
Maybe,
here.
yeah. I mean, if he does
Nope.
do that, then sure. But
NASCAR knows they effed up here. If they fine him, that's just putting a bigger egg in their face. That's turning more of the PR against
and
him.
I say the same thing would have happened if he would have spoke out.
Mark my words. Kyle Busch is going to get a speeding penalty next week.
Yeah, he might, but he could have also
Will.
just spoke out.
He won't because we're still on vacation for the Olympics.
He will, or not next week. Next
All
week.
right, Alex, way to be
Well, he
technical
actually
with
might.
this.
Right.
If
Thank
he
you.
was
Alright,
racing
yeah.
in a golf cart.
All right, but here's the thing. You guys are kind of shooting down the same similar path, I think, with your arguments. You're both saying that it's more powerful to do X. Well,
Right, like
I
it's
think because there were no words said, he could get his message across to us, the diehard fans, and then NASCAR, it's more of a deep cut rather than just blowing and popping his thing off. Because if they find him, because he said bleepity bleep bleep, NASCAR bleep, what does that do? That
Right.
promotes no thought. That's NASCAR being like, okay, this guy's just a hothead, piss off. It was more of
It
a
almost makes you think when someone says,
Right.
hey,
All
I
right.
can't
More-
do this or else.
All right, check this
symbolic
out.
rather than words.
Check this out. My father, who used to watch NASCAR, doesn't anymore, like most dads. He knows that he doesn't like Kyle Busch, like a lot of people. They don't like Kyle Busch. He saw just the replay, right? It was going around of Kyle Busch hitting the back of the pace car, and he saw that, and immediately, when I was talking to him, he was like, "Yeah, what an asshole! Like such a Kyle Busch move, right? He's angry and he's going to hit the pace car." That's what most people are seeing. If he would have protested the race, let's say, and yes, that is what I'm promised. That is what most casual people that don't keep up with NASCAR, that's what they see. They see hot-headed Kyle Busch get angry and hit the back of the pace car. If he would have maybe protested and said, "I'm not racing in this anymore, I'm done," and then spoke out and been like, "I'm not going to put my car and my team in a situation where we waste our time, our money, and it's unsafe," I think that would have been much more powerful.
Well, I mean, he kind of did that because he said we can't fix it, and they just went behind the wall.
Right,
I mean,
and
they
I
were going
think
to race anyway.
sponsorship too. Like if he sits out of a race, there goes the sponsor. There goes a lot of.
Kyle
lot
Busch
of
ain't
things
losing
that-
sponsors. Let's be real.
I mean,
One
he almost
race-
lost Mars after the Hornaday thing, so you never.
maybe, but
because
I
it's
still
Kyle
think
Busch.
the only thing people focused on was him hitting the back of that pace car, and the casual fan, that's all they see, and they know Kyle Busch is a hothead, and it just looks like he's just being an asshole, like he always is.
But then, if you look at him in the post race, if they listened to his comments, they would just say, "Oh, Kyle's a crybaby," like always. They would write that off. So everything that he says, whether it's intellectual or not, just gets written off as, "Oh, Kyle Busch is a whiner."
Yeah,
I
One's a
think what I was
hot-headed
saying-
move, one's not. I think that would be.
I think you bring up a good point, right? You can cherry pick that situation. If someone doesn't see the interview after they get on pit road for the red flag, which is the context needed to know what's happened, if they don't see the wreck and they don't see, the 4 or 5 other drivers that are doing interviews there saying, what Ryan Blaney said. He said, we've got to call ourselves when we make a mistake. If you don't see the context there, I can see what you're saying, where a casual fan might say, oh, that's just Kyle Busch being a dick. But also, to the same regard, that serves people well who do like Kyle Busch and may not have not watched it. Yeah, that's my driver. Pushing it back against the man.
If you're a Kyle Busch fan,
So-
yeah, you love this 100%, no doubt. I mean, that's who he is.
No.
That's what you want to see out of Kyle Busch. I get that.
If it's anyone other than Kyle Busch hitting the pace car, how do you think people are going to react? Because people are going to your point, people are going to see that and say that's just Kyle being a crybaby.
Right, probably better.
If that's Truex hitting the pace car, if that's Chase
If
Elliott,
it's-
Denny
especially-
Hamlin,
yeah, if it was
it's going to
Truex,
raise a lot. It's going to perk ears up, right?
I would say that would be more effective. The fact that it's Kyle Busch is not as effective because the only thing ESPN is going to play is just him hitting the pace car. They're not going to say why or anything else. It's just that clip, that highlight. And it looks like Kyle Busch is just being a crybaby.
So you agree that it brought more attention to the fact?
No, I still think.
Hey, you can't do that. You just said. Anyway.
No,
My
all I
second-
said was I think it would be taken a little bit more seriously than Kyle Busch, but I never said that I think it would be more effective than just voicing your concerns.
And to your point again, if he had just voiced his concerns or sat out a race, what are people going to say? What's your dad going to say?
I think
that's Kyle being a crybaby, right?
He just has to present it like an adult. He has to talk to people and say they've
Are
made
people
terrible
going to take him
decisions.
serious even if he presents as an adult?
I
No,
think
they're
they
gonna
would
say
take
that-
it more seriously.
That's Kyle.
I disagree. I think they would take it more seriously.
No,
If you speak to people like an adult,
fan base, you do not know the amount of FKB shirts that are out in the stands every
You
Oh
day.
yeah, they will literally write
telling
off
me
anything
I don't
he
know.
says.
You're going to tell me
Anything
what's in
he
the
says he does,
grandstands?
people are
You've
gonna
been
say-
to one race in your life and tell
Bro,
me
look
what's
at-
in the grandstands.
Bro, Dave Moody, look at what he said in 2019. Kyle Busch at Dover said that he didn't like this package, the 550 package, being run at mile and halves. And Dave Moody literally writes him off and says, "Oh, that's Kyle. He only likes it because he
It's
didn't
Dave
win."
Moody, though, to be fair.
Right. And I think a lot of fans have that same mindset, so they would just write off anything he says.
I think there's
You know?
some fans like that, but if he's saying something that a majority of the NASCAR fan base agrees with, I would say people will come around to listen to him. If at least
It's
the
tough,
NASCAR
man.
community likes it. Dave Moody ain't nobody listening to him. Let's be real.
Right. Like I think the thing is, it's people have to decide either agree with their least favorite driver or or just not agree with him and have to suck it up. So it's like it puts some of the fans that don't like him are in like a no-win situation.
Kyle Busch is the toughest one to work with because he definitely has the most haters, like overall. So
Yeah, well, here's the thing with Kyle Busch when it comes to that. Yes, he's polarizing. Yes, there's a polarizing fan base because of him. But when it comes to Kyle Busch, you go way back to the COT win that he had at Atlanta. He got out of that car and said it sucks. It sucks to drive. He has always been a critic. So even if you just take a little bit out and you look at the context, I think most fans are going to just agree with what he's saying because of the recent press that we've had, and they know that Kyle Busch is not afraid to call bullshit on NASCAR. And that's what he did this weekend, even though, like you said, maybe it was a little bit of a hot-headed move.
I think agree that he's right. It's just we disagree on how he went about it, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing that people should be looking at. But I will agree, probably people aren't looking at it the way that we're looking at it because they didn't see the context. And you mentioned ESPN. ESPN is trash. Okay,
right.
As soon as they drop NASCAR coverage,
NASCAR anymore.
Well, they do show NASCAR, but you know what they've shown about NASCAR in the last few months and the last couple of years? They showed the Bubba Wallace incident.
Right.
They would show something like this just to get clicks.
They'll say we're racist and no one shows up anymore. Those are the only two things they will say about
NASCAR. And that's all I have to say about ESPN. They don't care about the sport. They've shown that to us, and they're going to put us in a bad light when they want to because they have F1 now, and they're all prestigious. Now, they don't understand that pitting motorsports fans against each other is the dumbest thing that anyone could do, but that's where I'm at with ESPN.
Like, you can't just let everyone feed each other to the wolves.
Yeah, I mean, but they're going to be the reason that people just see the hitting the pace car incident, like Rattlesnake is saying. I get where you're coming from. Still think it was fine for Kyle to do. He did what, crew chief said to do. Go hit the pace car. You hit everything else out there. I know it's not Harry Hyde, but whatever.
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really care that much. I just like arguing with Colton. So that's
okay.
I don't really care that much. I just think he could have handled it better.
All right. Well, we will move on to our last worker joke of the day.
So mad.
I think that we're all going to be pretty mad with what I'm about to say. I think we're all going to be on the same side here. But NASCAR comes over the radio at the end of stage 2, and they say that we will tell you when we go 10 to go because the light is getting dark. Now, you look at your weather app, you can see when the sun sets, you can see when it's going to be total darkness. So just to preface where I know I'm going to go with this, that's the setup. They had 9 race laps to go at the checkered flag. They called 10 to go with 19 to go. With the darkness being a factor, is that a worker joke decision?
Man, that's a tough one, honestly, because that whole race they were making bad calls. So maybe they're trying to be a little bit safer because they're like, yeah, we messed up. We can't put it in another situation where if it gets dark and they lose visibility. But also, let them finish, right? Because they're so close. But then you think back to Coda, right? They waited until Chase Elliott was in the lead, and then they called it. They're like, we're good. We're done. You can't say it about this one because NASCAR's not trying to help out Almirola. I mean, that's a tough one because it's hindsight. I'm not sure. Colton, you think NASCAR's trying to help Almirola get a win?
You finish your point.
Yeah, okay. It's a tough one. I want to immediately say let them finish the race, but if they did, I don't know. What if visibility is a problem and then there's a really bad wreck and then NASCAR gets called on that again in the same race? That's a really tough one. Honestly, I don't think it's as black and white as it should be.
So you're going woke or joke?
How about y'all give me your opinions and then I'll see what I can come up with.
Okay.
Oh,
You're gonna break the system. That's fine.
all right. Okay.
I'm gonna go joke. There's a couple reasons why. First off, if y'all listen to DBC, I'm a religious listener of DBC. Right?
Yeah.
Love that podcast. I love Freddie Kraft. I love TJ Majors, Brett Griffin. I like their point of you see when the sunset is. You could see 8:21 p.m. is when sunset is, right, over in New Hampshire.
Yep.
Say at 8 o'clock, regardless of where we're at, we're going to call 10 to go. Or if we have a caution between now and then, right, we're going to call a green, white, checkered after 8, right? I think that's a great way of looking at it. And give them a time. That gives the crew chiefs a strategy to plan around. You can kind of guess how many laps you're going to do in between now and then. I think that was a lot better than just the randomly, hey, we're going to do 10 to go. To your call, they made bad calls all race. They wanted to justify it. They made bad calls all race and then made another bad call. All right. We had Christopher Bell running down Eric Almirola. What's that extra 9 laps? 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes in New Hampshire? You really going to tell me it's going to get too dark in 4.5 minutes for them to not race? They raced in the dark at Kansas and Martinsville before. And we didn't see any bad wrecks out of that. Not to say, I mean, New Hampshire's killed people before, so I'm all about driver safety. But I think the time would have been a lot better rather than just the random 10 to go.
All right, I'm leaning towards Colton because of the time thing. I like that point.
I like that.
That's what I was going to add on to. I think
I'm about to blow your point in the water because NASCAR helped out Chase Elliott. Of course, NASCAR wants to help out Eric Almirola. Christopher Bell was chasing him. Christopher Bell already has a win. What's going to be more publicity and more talk for NASCAR? The next winner, right? The more winners they have in the playoffs, the more they have to talk about.
It's Eric Almirola. I don't know.
It's still, I mean, a 27th place guy in points winning is a huge
bingo.
Deal. Like that's exactly what they're going for with the playoffs.
Yeah.
They want the most chaos you can get.
And I do want to say this, right?
It
might just be Eric Almirola, but guess what? It's Smithfield too. Smithfield puts money into the sport, so they want to put them in the limelight.
That's more.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to say joke on this because I think Hamlin himself actually liked it and retweeted a tweet saying that, what difference is, 4 minutes time going to make visibility wise? I think it was almost, I hate to say this, but I would not be surprised if this was something that they were trying to build the intensity because I think if there were 9 more laps, there's a good chance that Bell does get there. But I think them immediately going there kind of made people really uncertain. Like, is he going to catch him or not? Like, it took a lot of the certainty out of that race. And I think it's almost like a TV thing where it's like you turn it up to 11. It's like, all right, here's your drama. Is he going to get there or not? Like, you drastically shorten the time that he has to run him down.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same boat there. It was disappointing, the decision, because of that, just because, I want to watch a race. I'm going to say joke because you have a set distance. And I like Colton saying, if it reaches, 8:04, 8:09, whatever,
right.
We're going to call it white flag that lap. We've seen that done in other stuff, that's happened. I mean, the fact that we see this really pisses me off because, in my opinion, I look at stuff, we see hodunk, podunk, whatever, middle of the fucking woods racetracks that have little sticks with candles on them for lights in short track racing. I mean, I've been to some really, 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 really shitty racetracks and seen them race till 2 a.m. with little to no lighting. What's 9 laps? What is 9 laps? And you know what? They robbed me of that finish. They robbed some strategy play out of there. And as we've alluded to, Basham's 45 says upsets bring more attention. I'm going to have to say I agree with that sentiment.
Right. I think
this is conspiracy theory, But NASCAR didn't blow it in their minds. They did exactly what they wanted.
Oh, I love
Right.
because of what we're going to talk about.
This
next.
is my thing,
But-
right? This is my thing. Like, I would say for sure that they want the drama. The playoffs were solely created with that in mind. And you look at Eric Almirola winning. He was 28th in points. The guy who's leading the points is winless. And what bigger drama would there be if there's a couple new
that's
winners?
true. Eric Almirola
And-
with his 2 fans, they definitely
Right,
want
but-
those guys watching.
And one of them watching.
No, they want drama. They don't want fans. They want drama. And look at
but
it.
here's
Eric winning Daytona makes
But
it
here's
that
the
much more of a
thing. Okay.
Game 7 moment for them.
Okay, no. First of all, if they had 9 more laps, what you just said, he might have caught up to Almirola in that time. He probably would have. That would be a much more exciting finish.
Right, but
Would
they're
it
playing
not?
the long game with this.
Playing the
I
long game. They don't
disagree.
want
Yeah.
That would have been a
finish.
much
They want water
more
cooler
exciting
top.
finish is if he
They
would have
want-
caught them and then they had to battle for the
They
win.
want Denny Hamlin to have to. They want the drama of saying, is the points leader going to make the playoffs or not? They want the most
Right.
ridiculous, crazy moment that you could possibly think of, and just they feed off that drama.
I just
And
think
what
you're
bigger
giving
drama would there
NASCAR
be
way
than
too
that?
much credit for a last-second decision like that. I don't think they're that smart.
They're
but
smart with the things they want to be smart with.
I think they're smart at planning things out, but a last-second decision. I mean, I think honestly they just knew that they messed up earlier, and they were like, "Let's try to be as safe as possible." But I do 100% agree with what Colton had to say that you could just look at the time. But once again, I just think they're all really dumb, and I'm smarter than all of them, and I don't think they thought about it.
Right, but
That's
I do
my
think
honest opinion. I think I don't want to give NASCAR too much credit here. They make some of the
Right.
worst decisions.
they're poor decisions. I will agree.
I think
Yeah.
I think the race would have been way more exciting if they let it run out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So why not let it run? I mean, that would have been
Long game.
badass.
Okay, so you've got other talking points if you come in, all right? You've got the 20 car getting another win, and Denny Hamlin still hasn't, right? So there's your first talking point. Seabell won on Saturday,
Daytona,
so
right?
you've got a sweep. There's another talking point. And then also the fact that he ran Almirola down and made a hell of a last lap pass or something like that. That's a third talking point. I think it serves in the moment better, but I do feel like Nate's point is that the long game that just bumped out one of the RCR cars, right?
Yeah,
so
but
now you've got two
nobody
teammates
cares about
battling
the
for
RCR
points.
cars, and nobody cares about Almirola. I just don't think the storyline's that great, honestly. Either way.
Nobody
Yeah,
cares
if that
about the
storyline
RCR
bumps
cars,
Hamlin out of
but
the
you're an
playoffs
Austin
eventually,
Dillon
then
fan.
it's big.
Yeah, I'm an Austin Dillon fan, but go to a race and find a number 3 and ask if they're an Austin Dillon fan or just wearing that because it's Dale Earnhardt. Let's be honest here.
Yeah,
Tyler
I mean,
Reddick,
I see your
people.
point.
Tyler Reddick,
Well-
I mean, you'll see some 8 stuff. Eric Almirola, I mean, come on.
Right, but the thing is, my mindset, I don't think it's for popularity for Eric Almirola. It's for the ramifications of, say, one more winner might be the difference between Kevin Harvick or Denny Hamlin missing the playoffs. That
Yeah,
could be
possibly.
That
but
could
it has-
be a quote unquote Game 7 moment. And I think NASCAR, as dumb as they are, sometimes they are not completely bumbling for no reason. Like sometimes they have a little bit of motivation behind these decisions.
Yep. Put on the tinfoil
Trauma
hat.
is one of them.
That's a TV talking.
Right.
Come
That's-
Oh
That's-
no,
that's what
I
I'm
fully
thinking.
believe that like championships are fixed, playoffs are fixed. I 100% believe that stuff, but I think that stuff's planned out in advance. I just don't know if they're that quick to have like this conspiracy thought where they're like, wait, who's gonna win? What's a better
No.
decision?
I
think-
disagree.
I don't think it's
No,
rigged.
I don't think they do.
I
that.
think they see Christopher Bell charging. They see darkness is coming here soon. Let's cut a little bit of the race off. Make sure we get a different winner in there
I don't know.
rather than this.
Right.
Good
And I
finish,
think
right? Yeah.
on the topic of race manipulation, I don't think they can outright rig everything. You know, that's not possible.
No,
but
they
they
can't.
can ensure they can try to reach an outcome that they desire. And they're doing
Right.
everything they can to make sure that that outcome of a different winner happens. You know?
Possibly. I just don't think Eric Almirola does anything. I don't
So
know.
are you? Are you woke? Joke. You never answered this.
Joke, just because I agree with Colton's point
Yes.
about the times. Just
Okay.
you could have just
Yeah.
been smarter and just. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the last second conspiracy, but Colton's right. Look at what time the sun sets and say we're calling it then.
Timestamp this 1:23:25. I'm gonna highlight. I'm gonna keep this forever. Colton's right.
Hey, I'm
Okay.
honest with my opinions. Okay, if Colton says gets lucky and happens to say something correct once,
Oh, there you
I'll
go.
agree.
Like Eric
Okay.
Almirola could win this race.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm going to slow you two down before we get back into that. Let's move on. We're going to start wrapping up. We've got a couple more things that I think we do need to talk about. You guys alluded to this conspiracy having a little bit of change in the points. I said, we've got one RCR car out. We've got 3 spots left for non-winners, basically. So we've got 4 races left. We've got the summer break right now for the Olympics, and then we've got 2 road courses, a Michigan race, which is not really a wild card at this point, and then the biggest wild card we could with the regular season championship race being at Daytona. So how many new winners do we get in the last 4 races, and does that bump Denny and Kevin Harvick out?
The only possibility of having a new winner that's outside the playoff cutoff line is the Daytona 500. I think that's the only real possibility.
Back yourself up here. What'd you say?
The only real possibility of having a new winner that's outside the playoff cutoff line is Daytona. I said Daytona 500.
Yep.
Daytona. Yeah. Sorry, I was texting while I'm talking. Is Daytona. I mean, I say that in Eric Almirola won, right? I mean, I could be wrong here, but it just seems like that's going to be the likely outcome. I don't know if there's going to be much changing other than hopefully a new winner at Daytona. I think we all kind of want to see that at least.
Yeah, a little bit of chaos is always fun.
I actually think Daytona is the biggest race that we see a repeat winner. Everyone's forgetting that we could still see Hamlin win. We could still see Harvick win, right? We could still get to 16 winners even with the dudes in points. I think Watkins Glen and the Indy Road Course are huge variables because we could see a Chase Briscoe win. Matt Benedetto runs super good at road courses. We could see him maybe strategy out and win one. He's been talking about how that team can win.
Hold on. Before you continue, you're telling me that of the 4 races we have left, the most likely place that we see a repeat winner is Daytona.
Yes.
I mean, that's just absurd. That is just absurd.
This is where the fun begins.
Michael McDowell, Eric Almirola,
Michael McDowell winning at these different tracks is a better chance than just a repeat winner at this.
No,
so
because
he runs multiple winners at every single race we have left.
Nope, he runs super good at all super speedway races, and he's really good at it. Right? We could see a Chase Elliott.
He's good at road courses too.
Yeah, he's really good at road courses too. We could definitely see McDowell win another race. I'm not saying it's I'm not saying it's likely.
Okay, no. I mean, it's unlikely. Let's be real.
I'm going to disagree.
Maybe the road course, but it's unlikely. If I'm a betting man, which I am, I mean, the odds of that are going to be pretty wild.
I think that we see 16 winners this season before the playoffs. Nate, while you're arguing your point, I'm going to pull up Michael McDowell's average.
All right, let's go. We'll try this. I do believe that, yes, it's unlikely, but I would say it's Murphy's Law. Anything that can happen probably will. We saw it with Eric Almirola. I think that Indy road course is probably the biggest variable because while I do think that the heavy hitters are going to run well, there's a slim chance that somebody like Chase Briscoe wins that race because he's proven success there. He's finished top 5, I think, or 6 in the last road course race at Road America. Daytona is a big one too, and I think the bigger super speedway racers, like Colton said, they'll find their way up front if they can finish this race. You never know with that. So I'm just gonna say you can't predict Daytona, but I think if you're gonna have a different winner, I would say Indy Road Course is the big one on the schedule. I don't see Watkins Glen being different because JGR has just they've been on another level at Watkins Glen lately, besides Elliott. So maybe not Watkins Glen. Indy Road Course is a definite scenario where you can have somebody different win. Daytona's Daytona, so you never know with that. But I think out of all of them, I'd probably say Michigan's the only one where I would feel confident that somebody below the cut line has 0 chance of winning.
See, I don't agree with that. I know that the Chevy noses are different, so maybe we don't see a Chevy dominate that 550 track. But I think a Team Penske car wins at Michigan. I think the only way we get a wild card is at the Indianapolis Road Course because Chase Briscoe has a ton more laps on that racetrack because he's the only one that has laps on that racetrack. Watkins Glen is MTJ and Chase Elliott's show. and then if Denny gets a win, it's going to be
Michigan,
at Daytona.
probably.
No, Daytona.
I
yeah,
think
he's really good.
He's
I
finished
think
top
that's
two the last Michigan races, and I
That's a
think
good point.
Daytona, he hasn't finished a Coke 0400 without contact. Last year was like the only time since 2009 where he didn't win that race.
So everyone else here agrees, other than me, that it's more likely that Chase Briscoe wins Indy Road Course than we get a new winner at Daytona.
Right, and I think the likelihood of that. But wait, the only reason I think of that. Okay, so you've got a what is it, 410 horsepower engine now or something like that, 450 horsepower. NASCAR reduced the horsepower. They reduced the drag with the wicker bill. I think it's gonna bring the plate racers to the show rather than guys that are good at taking runs. So I will stretch and say we could get a new runner, but it's going to be either the 11, the 47, because he was good when we had this type of
Penske cars.
plate package.
Penske cars, man, they were the best at that package.
Or one of the guys that's already got a win. Maybe Bubba Wallace gets a win because he's such a good plate racer. But he's got to stop having.
I wouldn't say it's crazy. I think the Penske cars at Daytona are going to be the favorites because that
but they've
package,
all got to win. So
right, but that package for Penske it plays into their favor because if you look at the old package where you couldn't get a run, it was always the strong guys with the strongest engines that were up front, and it's always Roush Yates, and you would see Keselowski and Logano just lead every single lap of the races, and it would always be one of them winning. So I don't see a new winner at Daytona.
I got some stats here. In the last 8 races, McDowell has 3 top 5s. I didn't even look into Denny. I didn't look into Keselowski, anything like that. I think you see a repeat. And to be fair here, I think you're arguing that we don't see a random winner. I'm arguing that we see a new winner. I'm saying that we see the 11 win, right? I'm saying that we see someone new who doesn't have a win this year win that race. I think it's possible. I also think it's possible that we see the 34, the 2, the 22 go to victory lane. The 47 is pretty likely. The 23 is up in the air because they do well at super speedways. The 11's fairly likely as well. I still think we get to 16 winners. I think we see a new winner at the Indy Road Course. If I had to put money on it, it's Chase Briscoe. It's the Cole Custers. Guys like that who had a lot of experience racing road courses in the Xfinity Series. I definitely think it's more possible than not.
I mean, I think Daytona speaks for itself. It's the track that's betting. I mean, I guess Talladega.
Well, who are you saying gets the win?
Famous for anyone that can win at Daytona. That's the point. And so, if I get what you're saying, that that can also include Harvick and Denny, right? I get that, and they have good shots to win just because they are that good. But there's a whole lot more drivers that haven't won that can win at Daytona because it's Daytona. Right, I mean, just looking at this list, Austin Dillon, who has won at Daytona, Bubba Wallace got second at Daytona. Chris Buescher's been doing well. I mean, what do you mean?
Chris Buescher's a good plate racer, man.
Right. They're honestly Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Right.
I made that point.
It's Daytona.
Likely.
That's my point. Is there's so much more random drivers on this list that the only chance they have of ever winning is a place like Daytona.
I don't know if what I'm about to say is going to be taken well with anyone, but I don't know that with this new package going into Daytona, if this is not just a train race snooze fest. I don't know that we have all this this whole wild thing, and we see, like Nate says, a Penske car, probably a Ryan Blaney, because that's probably his best track when it comes to leading laps. He might actually get one finished there. I don't know. That's my biggest.
It's tough, I think part of the reason the last package was so random is because the guy up front was no longer able to control the race. He couldn't stall out a run. If this package is more similar to the last couple of years before the bigger spoiler, then whoever's got the best car and can control the pack is going to win the race. And more often than not, it's the Penske guys because their philosophy is lead every lap.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's Daytona. I mean, they're going to be racing closer than normal. It's harder to pull away. And at the end of the day, there's going to be restarts, especially later, because there are going to be wrecks. It's Daytona. I mean, I just hope that we get a different winner. Obviously, that would make it so much more exciting. It will suck if it's just kind of a snooze fest and we have like a Penske car win. It'll be a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
if
hoping
it
that's
if it
good.
is someone, if I want to pull for anyone, I want it to be someone like Matt DiBenedetto.
Austin Dillon.
Because no, fuck Austin Dillon.
Austin Dillon, let's go.
Okay, so before we get off here, I do want to say this. I know that you're a big fan of Austin Dillon, but I'm on the camp that he is wasting that seat. So
For who?
Oh, what?
for anyone, man.
Name somebody.
What do you
Name
mean
somebody
anyone?
that you
I don't know. I mean, look at Tyler Reddick, and I
Tyler
think
Reddick's
that he's
in
a
the
But
much
not
better
everyone is Tyler
racer.
Reddick.
Well, I know. I look at him and I say he's a really good set. I don't know. I think maybe not Noah Gragson, but someone like him who is younger would be better than Austin Dillon in that
I
cup car.
100%
Look,
disagree.
I'm not like a
Austin
huge
Dillon is
Austin
better
Dillon
than Noah
fan,
Gragson.
but I will say he is a solid driver. Like, if people never hated Paul Menard for just bringing the car home, and he was more of a pay driver than Austin Dillon ever is.
Yeah.
And you think
And
about
RCR equipment's trash. Let's be honest.
Like, I think
they've
if you
shown
want a
some light
guy-
this year, but overall, okay, here's a good example. Ryan Newman, when he was the 31 at RCR, Austin Dillon came in and was performing better on average than Newman.
I love Ryan Newman, but I think he should have retired after he got out
Yeah.
of 39.
But they're both in similar
So,
equipment in RCR.
yeah.
I mean, I think Austin
Right.
Dillon is actually a pretty good driver. If you put him on like a good
he's solid.
team, I think he would do well. RCR sucks. Like, they do. That's why I kind of hope the rumors about, like, Junior buying him out or something happens is actually
Right.
true,
Like,
because they need something on that team.
I think
I don't
Austin
know.
Dillon, he's not a world beater, but I think that he is a solid driver. Like,
He was never going to be a
absolutely, he's a solid
championship driver, but yeah, I
Right.
think he's
Yeah.
He can win some races.
I don't know.
every
I
now and then.
feel like someone like an Eric Jones would be a better fit because, I mean, I
like
get that
Eric
they're
Jones,
right.
too.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean-
I feel sorry for Eric Jones in the situation he
Mhm.
was in.
Yeah.
And now he has to be in the equipment he's in, so that sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't know why else. I mean, why anybody else? The guy's pretty
I
good at
don't know.
marketing himself. He can bring in sponsorships. He's a pretty decent driver. Yeah, he's never going to be a championship driver. I mean,
No.
Right. Not every driver has to be one. You know?
right. I just don't see who else you would even put in the 3 car.
I just want people to hate me. That's really it. That's all it is. I want people to hate me.
All right. Let's.
I don't know. So basically, I think we've gotten everything. We did receive a L1 penalty for the 9 and the 48 today because they put the 9's winning engine in the 48. 25-point penalties, I guess, for each car. I'm kind of confused on that. I don't know if it's just the 48 or if it's both teams. But do you guys think that this late in the game that does really anything? No.
No.
Probably not. No.
They're already locked in
Yeah.
the playoffs. What's 25 points Doc gonna do?
I mean, hey, that 25 points lost Dale Jr. the championship in 2004. So,
Right, but I mean, with this format, man, like they're just gonna reset it anyways, a few weeks, and that's
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. So that was pretty much all we had to talk about today. I want to thank Matt RattlesnakeTex, however you want to call him. Go watch Chairgating. Thank you for coming on. It's been good. Did want to give a shout out to another person who's watching, Dalton Good. His username DaltonGood18 on Twitter. He just had a birthday recently, so I wanted to wish him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that was Tuesday. What's his birthday?
I think it was yesterday.
Was it yesterday?
What's he, like,
yeah.
22, 23, something like that?
Yeah, he's got to be younger than us. He looks younger than us. So he says thanks. Well, thank you, Dalton, for watching. We really appreciate it. We appreciate everyone who watched tonight and chimed in. I'm going to go ahead and roll it off to Rattlesnake for any plugs you have before we leave.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody check out my podcast if you haven't already. It's very mediocre, so please watch it. It's called
Very.
Irrigating. Yeah, it's what you do when you're like Colton and you don't actually attend races and you have to tailgate at
Gotcha.
home in your chair. It's made for guys like Colton. Yeah, check it out. My personal Twitter is at RattlesnakeTex. If you want to just get random shit from that, like country music and college football takes, I do that kind of stuff. So yeah, check out Chairgate. It's fun sometimes.
Sometimes.
So,
Yep.
Only occasionally.
I do want to shout out Davey Fan at NASCAR11 on Twitter. He said, "You guys are way better than the NASCAR Weekly podcast. So suck it, BFM. We better than you."
Oh God! One day we're gonna get Darian on. I think
That's right. We're just gonna put him and Colton in our own little room.
Okay, you know what
let
we're
them
gonna
settle
do?
it.
The other project that we're working on, Colton, for you, we'll get him on as your debut episode. So we will get to that. Yeah,
Darian
we'll
will
announce
not
all
come
that
on.
stuff later.
I've been on their show before, good guys, but I doubt Darian will ever come on with Colton.
He won't.
Well, I'll tell him it's my show, and we'll go from there. How about that? I did want to say Dalton said
We're gonna
he
surprise
is just
him.
turned 20, so he is a baby, just like Nathan. You guys are too young, making me feel old, man.
His birthday was the 20th.
Oh,
he's 20.
Yeah.
Okay. So I took that as
Tuesday.
It was his 20th birthday. Okay, yeah. I was right. It was Tuesday. Listen to me. Knowing something for once. I'm not being called out for being wrong this time. Yeah. So, like I said, great show tonight, guys. Thanks for coming on. Rattlesnake. It was fun finally getting to talk to you. I know we've been talking behind the scenes, you and Colton especially, because he's been on and off your show as well. Appreciate you not taking him. I think he's better for us.
Yeah, well, I think
you and Dakota's got everything going over there.
I gotta talk to you, Colton, too. Next week, me and Dakota were talking about doing another Chipperty, so we'll definitely have to get you back if that's. I mean, you're the host of that thing, so
we got big news coming with the NASCAR trivia. I've been working on this for months.
There we go.
No wait, I'll do a Jeopardy.
I would kill somebody to participate in that.
But we got big shit coming too.
All right, well, hopefully in Chairgate, hopefully next week we can get it set up. Probably not as big as whatever Colton's planning, but
definitely not.
It'll still be better though, because I'll set it up instead of Colton.
I don't know about that. We got a lot of things coming down the line. Us and our not exclusively position named partner of Jared Bakaisa. We've got some stuff cooking. We'll let you guys in, let you on the know-how so that we can get some of that stuff, because I think you and all the fans watching now are definitely going to be into it. And Colton's got some stuff cooking. Jared says, "What's cooking?" Because he's watching right now.
You already know, my guy.
Yeah.
We've explicitly talked about not announcing it until it's closer. So
what's up, Jared?
You just gotta stick around and watch.
Good to see you, bud.
With all that being said, thanks as always for watching. You know our Twitter handle. It's scrolling there at the bottom at Fanfield Podcast 1. That's how you're watching it. Always interact. We'll get you on the show if we're live, and if not, we'll shout you out. Come by next week. Let us know if you got anything that you want to add to the show, and we'll see what we can do. Come on, a fan spotlight. We want as many views as we can get. So with that being said, have a good night, and we will see you next week.